Welcome, I'm Dawn, and this is where Shabby meets Bling.
You're watching 1313 Mockingbird Lane, a vintage Halloween playlist crawl. I would like to thank my co-hosts Monica from Up All Night DIY and Annie from Crafting with Indie Annie Jones. You're going to find the links to their channels and this playlist in my description box below. Here comes a black and white project number 1. Look what I found. I found another jack-o'-lantern. If you think you recognize this guy, you would be correct. This is, I guess you would call it Gus's little brother. The face is identical to Gus the ghost catcher. And this guy is going to get a little bit of a makeover. He is going to become all black and white. He's gonna be a black and white jack-o'-lantern. My goal is to get him to blend with some of my enamelware. That's why I want him in black and white. The first thing I need to do is get that light kit off the bottom so that I can separate him and paint him. He cost me $5.99 at the Goodwill, and that's pretty much my max that I'll pay for these because they are everywhere here. I know a lot of people can't find these, but there seems to be a plethora in my neck of the woods, and I'm grateful for that, and I will grab every one that I find that's in this price range. Once I get those screws out of the light kit, it easily pulls apart. Maybe too easily. But now I get to paint. Yes, I do. And I'm going to paint the entire interior of my little jack-o'-lantern in a Rust-Oleum exterior house paint. And this is a satin. And I have a big old can of it. It's been used many a times. You've seen me use house paint on many things. It is very thrifty, very economical. Use paints that do the job that you want them to do, but will cost you the least amount of money. That's just using your head. Yeah, like this poor guy kind of doesn't have a head right now. So once I finish painting the interior, this black, I'm going to set it aside to dry because it will need a second coat. The reason I'm using a satin is because I want a little bit of sheen. Enamelware has a definite sheen, and the reason I'm using exterior paint is because I may wish to put this on an outside display during a Halloween party with my other enamelware items. Once that second coat has dried, we're gonna address the front of my little jack-o'-lantern, or should I say the exterior of this little guy, Gus's little brother. Isn't he cute? I just love this face, and when I saw it, I thought, oh man, I gotta get this guy. But I wanted to do something completely different so that you could see that the same item can look totally different if you address it in a different fashion. Right now, I'm addressing the parts you're gonna see from the exterior. I don't want there to be any yellow. It needs to be black. So I'm using that same exterior house paint on all the cut areas, shall we say, the cut areas of a jack-o'-lantern to make them black. This will also take multiple coats and touch up, just like the interior did. Once all of the black has been completed, we move on to the white part of our enamelware. To paint the exterior, I am going to be using a plaid apple barrel matte white. I will be coating it later, so no fear that this is matte at this point. I am going to give the front and back a coat or two or more of this white to make sure it's covered thoroughly. Once I have as many coats on here as necessary, and I've done all the vital touch-ups, I will be gluing the two pieces back together with 3-in-1 glue. Little bro is dry, that glue is dried, and I need to patch up some of the areas that are not as smooth as I feel they should be. I will be using my one time on the crack where the two pieces meet, that seam, and on some areas where the paint has blistered. Then I will set this aside and let it dry. Then we sand all of that one time nice and smooth so we can paint again. And we're gonna have to touch up all those areas that we repaired so that it looks nice and uniform. Back to the apple barrel white paint. After I get all of my little areas touched up and any areas that might have a little bit of that orange showing through, we move on to the podge. Here comes the Mod Podge. Yep, I am starting out with my first coat just with a matte Mod Podge. Once it's thoroughly dry, I come back with my dishwasher safe Mod Podge, which will allow me to be able to display this little jack-o'-lantern outside. Everything else now is black and white on my little jack-o'-lantern, so we can't have the light kit be bright orange. That just won't do. I am going to remove the cord without breaking this fragile little plastic thing, and then I am going to spray paint the base of it, the orange part, in a flat black Rust-Oleum spray paint. And yeah, it's going to be flat black because no one will ever see it. They're just going to see the light shining through his smiling little face. After the black paint has dried, I replace my light kit, and then I screw the entire thing right back into the bottom of my jack-o'-lantern. Here comes a black and white project, number 2. I picked up this little number at a garage sale. It was one of the ones where you have a lot of people putting their items into one big sale, which was awesome. I picked up this little percolator for $5. This is a Fire King enamel coffee percolator. And as you can see, depending on where you get them, they can cost a pretty penny. Mine is in almost perfect condition. It has a couple of dents, tiny ones, but it's not too bad. What I'm going to do is just enhance it a little bit. I am going to make a little label basically for it, almost as if this were on there originally. I'm using 2 thrifted little oval cookie cutters that I got, and I am going to use some of my little stepping stone imprints, the little letters, to make a little sign, a little label, a little emblem that says Wicked Brew, and I will add the number 31 in the center. I am using flour clay. I use the larger oval to cut my ring, and then the smaller one to just make a little bit of an impression. This will create a rim around my little emblem. It will make a little border right around the center of the oval. Once my little oval has been cut, I will use my little paving stone stamps to create my verbiage. Through all this, I make sure that there's plenty of cornstarch on here so my little stamps and ovals don't stick, but not too much because we want to read what it says. I start at the inside, the center part, and work my way out. By doing it this way, you have a much better chance of having your verbiage centered. Once I have all of my letters stamped, I will brush off all the extra cornstarch and lay it across my little percolator. That way, as it dries, as it cures, it will take the form of the percolator right where I'm going to glue this once it's been painted. Once I have it positioned where I want it, I set it aside to dry overnight. My little sign, my little emblem, whatever you want to call it, is dry enough to paint. And the cool thing about this flour clay is it will stay pliable for quite a while after it's been out in the air. So I could still move it around if I had to, which will come in handy when I glue it. I am painting the inside of each of my little letters with that same black exterior house paint that I used on my little jack-o'-lantern. I am getting inside each of the little letters and making sure that I get the rim around the interior of each letter as well. Once I have all of my letters painted in, it will take 2 coats for sure. But once I have them painted in for the first coat, I will also give that little rim we created around the exterior of our emblem a coat of this black paint as well. I do have a couple of dents in my little emblem there. But I don't care. The actual percolator has a couple dents, so it'll go right along with it. They'll match beautifully. This thing has lived a long life. They were manufactured in the 1940s. This percolator is almost 100 years old, so my sign should also look a little aged, should it not? I think so. My black paint is dry, so now it's time to paint the white. And I am once again using that Apple Barrel Plaid matte white paint because everything's got to look the same. The whole point is to make everything look like enamelware. So I'm very, very carefully using my white to go around each and every little letter and around the perimeter of that oval, that border we created. Once this coat of white is dry, I will come back and hit it again with a second coat and then do any touch-ups I need to do on both the white and the black. I will finish this up with a couple of really healthy coats of the dishwasher safe Mod Podge. Yes, the Podge. Then it will be glued into place with 3-in-1 glue. I will finish this project off by making a beautiful bow out of a couple of these ribbons. Haven't decided which one yet, to be determined. And now for black and white project number 3. You go, Skelly. Go, Skelly, go. For this project, I'm going to use some empty lemonade bottles. This lemonade came from Aldi's and my husband loves it. He loves it. I'm going to create an image. Actually, I already created an image. Way back before Canva was even a glimmer in someone's eye. We're going to go back in time. We're going to do a little time travel to the days of PowerPoint. I created this cute, semi-creepy wine bottle label about 4 years ago. I created it for an event, a market where I was going to be selling some items, and I like it so darn much, I'm going to use it again. I start by cutting out my big label, the one that's going to go on the front of my wine bottle. I will also be using this little section of the wine label. That little part is the bottom of the big wine label, and I'm going to cut it out because it will hug the neck of my wine bottle. I'm being very careful as I cut out my wine label, leaving just a little bit of a white border all the way around the perimeter. Funny enough, it took me twice as long as it should have, even though I had Blue's help. Thanks, Blue. Bye-bye. Once I have all of my labels cut out, you know what time it is? It's Podge time. I am applying a matte Mod Podge onto the back of my label and onto that tiny little band that's going to go around the top. So cute. Loving it. Once I get it thoroughly coated, I will apply it immediately onto my bottle. Once both of my label components are adhered, I'm going to set them aside to dry. Because I want to be able to use these bottles, the bottles I made previously were usable as well. I sold some and I made some for myself, and I used them at one of my Halloween parties. I filled them with a lovely concoction that I created. It was so good. I want to be able to do the same thing with these. So I busted out more Podge. I have a plethora of Podge. You know I do. And this, once again, is the dishwasher safe Mod Podge. I applied 3 coats. Now for some embellishments. I am taking some creepy cloth and I'm just cutting a big old strip of it, and I'm going to tie them as bows. Big old floopy holy bows on each and every one of my bottles. And look who's back. Blue's here to help. Thanks, Blue. Couldn't do it without you, buddy. Once I get my bow tied, I decide it's not enough. And Blue's back to say, hey, it's not enough. I really need to help you, Mom. Let me get comfy here. So I finish my bows, and then I decide, since there's an actual eyeball on my label, I would make some little eyes to go onto those bows. I will be using these little wood split balls from Woodpile to make my eyes. I picked these up at the Hobby Lobby. You gotta love Hobby Lobby. I mean, I don't have a Michaels near me, and since Joann Fabric has gone bye-bye, I have nothing else. So Hobby Lobby is kind of my mainstay. I take these little wood split balls and I'm just gonna tape them right onto my cardboard box using painter's tape so they don't get away from me, because this is gonna get messy. I start by using my white plaid apple barrel paint to give them a nice thorough coat. Once dry, I do give them a second coat. Since my label is in black and white and shades of gray, I will be using Elephant Gray chalk paint by Waverly to make the iris of my eyes. Then I will come back with another shade of gray. This shade of gray is called a Slate, also by Waverly, also a chalk paint. And I will be making little tiny flecks on that elephant gray to add some sparkle and life to these half eyeballs. We all know what comes after this: the black pupil and a white highlight, then covered in a Mod Podge, a nice gloss Mod Podge. So it stays consistent. The black paint, of course, is that exterior black, and the white will be that apple barrel by Plaid. Once my Mod Podge is dry, I will make a little tiny loop out of some wire and hot glue it onto the back, which will enable me to attach it to my creepy cloth bow. And finally, black and white project number 4. Get down with your bad self, Skelly. You go, boy. Woohoo! I always check out the clearance section in whatever store I'm shopping at. And here at Hobby Lobby, I was looking at the drawer pulls because I use them for so many different things and they are on clearance. And I happened to glance down and found this. And what a coincidence, it's black and white. It was 64 cents and it is seriously injured. So I took it home. I bought it first, of course, and I'm going to try to repair it. The original price was $6.49 and I figured at 90% off. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I have a lid for my lid bucket, if nothing more. I figured my best bet for a repair job was quickwood. So I'm taking out a little bit of quickwood, I knead it together, and I start forming it around that little broken out area on the top of this jar. After about a half an hour of dry time, I give it a sanding. I start out with a rather coarse sandpaper and I will work my way down to a much finer one. Once again, I have an assistant. Mr. Blue is in the house and he's gonna help. How cool would it be if he could pick up some sandpaper and give me a hand? Give me a paw? Yeah. Once I have this thing sanded the way I want it, I'm going to paint it. I started out by painting the white part with that apple barrel white. Now, it was way too stark, way too stark. I gave it a first coat, but then in the end, I came back with an antique white apple barrel and the white apple barrel and combined them. And this really was pretty darn close to the color of the rest of this little jar. After I was finished with the white combo, I came back with that black paint that I've been using through this whole process, that exterior black house paint. I was as careful as I could be, considering this is a very fine line and it's on a curve, but I did my best and I had to touch it up a couple of times. And once everything was dry, I came back with the Podge. Yes, I gave it a couple coats of the dishwasher safe Mod Podge. Now, this little jar is not food safe, so it doesn't really matter if it's food safe Mod Podge, because there is no such thing. Get on it, Mod Podge. Give me some food safe Mod Podge. So until they create it, I am just using my dishwasher safe Mod Podge. I give the repaired section 2 coats.
My projects are complete and I'm really digging that black and white vibe. I can't wait to show all of you.
Here's my little repaired pot. It's pretty cute, and you can't tell too much where that repair is, but it's right here. You can see the slight difference in the paint color, but with shadows and in the right light, it kind of fades away, almost like it's not there at all. I have it facing this way to show you the repair. In everyday life, I'll put that repair to the back, and no one will know it's ever been broken. Quick wood and some paint, and you have a fabulous little jar. Let's get a better look at my wine bottles. I have them displayed on a thrifted enamelware tray, a cute little tray. Love this thing. And they are empty at the moment. But I have plans. When Halloween comes, they will be filled with a lovely concoction of yummy goodness. You can see the eyes, the cute little eyes. They reflect the little eyeballs that are actually on the label. The label says, Eyes of Cherub Nectar. And the little cherubs are holding not grapes, but little eyes. So it's cute, it's sweet, it's a little classy, and just a wee bit creepy. It is Halloween after all. Here's Gus's little bro, and I don't know about you, but I think it just looks like I painted on a pumpkin. It really does. It does not look dimensional at all, but I love the looks of him. Isn't he cute? He almost looks like a skeleton. Super cool. But he is a jack-o'-lantern, which means he does light up. So let's turn on the lights. There he is. And you can really see with that light on how much of a sheen you get on the inside. And it really does look like it could be enamelware. I am in love with this little guy. He's going to look so cute in my kitchen with my other enamelware items. He'd even look adorable in my pantry. All the enamelware would. Love it so much. We have one more thing to look at, and it's that vintage percolator. I have it displayed with some adorable little espresso cups, also white and black, and these are porcelain, and of course, they were thrifted. You can see my percolator is sitting on a quote-unquote stove top. I salvaged these two stove grates, and I thought they'd be perfect for a display. And look at it. Look how cute it looks. It looks like that wicked brew is just brewing away, percolating, right next to Edgar, who's still a-cooking. He has still not been able to get out of that savory junior roasting pan. Oh, come on, Edgar, you can do it. He looks like he's reaching for a cup of coffee. Maybe he needs a little caffeine to give him that boost he needs. By the way, my Wicked Brew percolator lights up as well. Hey, if I can, I will. You know me by now. I removed the brewing basket from the inside and added a battery-operated candle. Look how cute it looks all lit up. This has been 1313 Mockingbird Lane, a vintage Halloween playlist crawl. Thanks again to my co-hosts, Monica from Up All Night DIY and Annie from Crafting with Indie Annie Jones. You're going to find the links to their channels and this playlist in my description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with anybody that likes DIYs, thrifting, repurposing, vintage, and Halloween decor. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and don't forget to check out my shop on Etsy. Leave me a comment. You know I love hearing from you. Ring the bell for notifications of all my upcoming videos, and subscribe. It really is a great way to support my channel. Another way to support my channel is to join, become a member, and get really special perks. But for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. But don't go too far. 1313 Mockingbird Lane continues. Stay tuned to this playlist.